Hey guys, so in today's video, I want to talk about the one thing you need to be doing when you get paid. So if payday is coming up for you and you're thinking, actually, I want to do something a bit different with my finances. Maybe I've just been impulse spending all of my money. I have no idea where it's going. So I want to just actually understand what to do with my money come next payday. Then this is the video for you, because what I'll be doing is sharing the one thing that I typically do before I get paid that has helped me so much when it comes to my finances. So if you want to find out more, definitely watch this video. Okay, so when it comes to payday, I would say the one thing that has truly helped me is planning out exactly how I'm going to distribute my money in advance. Now listen to the key word, in advance, not after, not at the time that I've been paid, but in advance. So before I even get paid, I need to know exactly where my money is gonna go, because one of the mistakes that we make is that we tend to start planning out our finances after we've got paid or after we've already spent half of the money. And the problem is, if you keep doing that, so let's say that you get paid on the 1st, but you start thinking about planning your payday on the 5th, what may happen is that you may have already spent some of the money and you then have no idea where the rest of the money is going to go, and then it's all going to feel like a bit of a mess, and then you give up and then say you're going to try it again next month. So the key thing that you need to be thinking about is, how can you actually distribute your money? How can you actually plan out your finances in advance, so before your payday? That's gonna make your life easier because you'll know exactly where your money is going as soon as you get paid. So when it comes to planning out your pay in advance, so planning out how you're gonna distribute your money in advance, one of the things that you need to think about is your actual financial goals. And this is something that people don't necessarily do, but you need to understand what your financial goals are, because this will then impact how you plan out your finances. So how you're going to plan out your money once you get paid. And this is actually a really, really important step, because I think what tends to happen is when people get paid, they're kind of like, oh, I should have some savings, or maybe I should pay off my debt, but I don't really know how much to pay off. I don't really have specific goals, so I will just spend the money, and then whatever is left, I will save it later. And if you're a natural spender like me, then you know that's probably not going to happen. For me personally, whenever I would try to save at the end of the month, even if I had some money left in the account, by the end of the month, I would have spent it already. So really thinking about your financial goals is very important. And what I mean by this is, are you currently trying to pay off debt? When do you want to become debt free? And how much do you actually want to start putting towards your debt so that you can become debt free? Or are you saving up for a house deposit? So you want to be thinking about how much you want to be saving to put towards that house deposit. And again, you'll be thinking about when you actually want to have that house deposit saved for. Or maybe you're thinking about financial independence and financial freedom, where you don't want to have to work for a good 40 years just to pay your bills. Maybe you want to get to the point where you have investments paying for your bills. So in that case, you need to then be asking yourself, how much do I want to be investing so that I can ultimately reach that goal? And so when it comes to any of those financial goals, this will help you to understand how you should be distributing your money when you get paid. Now, this is something that I do deep dive on with my clients during one-on-one coaching. So if you do want a bit more support with finding out how much you should be saving and investing, I will leave a link in the description below for you to find out more about working with me. But essentially, when you have those financial goals, you will then understand how you're going to prioritize your money when you get paid. So for example, if you know that in order for you to have your house deposit in the time that you want, you need to save about £500 or dollars, well then you'll be thinking, as soon as you get paid, £500 or dollars will be put into your savings, but you won't know that until you've actually been very clear on your goals. So you won't know how much to put into your savings or how much to overpay your debt by until you actually have your specific goals. So when you're thinking about your payday in advance, you want to think about your goals first. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. Plus, it's free. Okay, so when it comes to planning out your money in advance before payday, one of the things that will also also be helpful is having a look at your past spending habits. So for example, you may decide to go through your bank statements and see how your money was distributed when you got paid. So how did you spend your money when you got paid the previous week or the previous month? And I say this because it will make life a lot easier if you have some type of guide. Because when I first started thinking about how I'm gonna plan my money in advance, I didn't necessarily look at my past spending, but it meant that it was actually really difficult to now start planning my spending. So as an example, I had no idea how much I was spending on groceries, or I had no idea how much I would typically spend when I would go out to eat. And that made things difficult because when I did try to plan out my spending, it wasn't realistic at all. So for example, I would tell myself, oh, I probably only spend £20 or dollars a week on groceries and that's it, without actually having a look at how much I typically spend. So when it came to the end of the month, I didn't realize that actually I was spending much more than that. In fact, I was probably spending 25 or 30 or 35 pounds or dollars on groceries. And had I looked at the previous month in terms of my spending, I would have seen that I typically spend a bit more on groceries. So what I then could have said to myself is, okay, since I spend about 25 or 30 on groceries, I am going to plan that in for the next month so that I'm less likely to overspend because I've been much more realistic. So before payday, when you're now thinking about how you're actually going to plan out your money, it's worth having a look at your previous bank statements so you have an idea, so that you can then say to yourself, okay, typically I spend this much on rent, this much on utilities, I have these direct debits and it comes to this much. And you can also then think about other spending, like how much you typically spend on groceries, how much you typically spend on eating out, so that it can help you when it comes to planning out your money in advance. Okay, so the other thing you want to be thinking about when you're planning out your money in advance is actually noting down how you're going to plan out the money. Now, some people will call this a spending plan, other people will call it a budget. For me, I call it a budget because I absolutely love the process. And honestly, it doesn't matter how you do this. You can do this on a spreadsheet like I typically do, or I have clients who have actually written it down so they have it on a piece of paper, or maybe you have an app on your phone and you want to do it like that. Whatever it is, just find out a way that works well for you and then think about how you're going to plan out your money. So if I use myself as an example, I'm currently filming this in June. So when I was thinking about how to plan out the money for June, what I would typically do is I would have a look at how we actually spent our money in the month of May, because that will then help me to think about how to plan out my money for June. And this is why actually having a look at your previous spending can be really helpful, because you will probably find that there are certain things that are pretty much the same every week or every month. So as an example, when it comes to our essential bills, our rent is going to be the same, our utility bills are the same, our SIM contracts are the same. So because they're pretty much direct debits or they're standing orders and they don't change very much, I will literally just copy and paste this to the next month. So I don't even have to think about, oh, how much am I going to spend on rent this month? How much am I going to spend on my water bill this month? I don't have to think about that because I already know how much they cost. So the only thing that I need to think about when I'm planning out my money and I'm distributing my money is my savings and investments and my other general spending. So things that typically can change, like groceries or how often you're going to eat out or anything like that. So it saves me a lot of time because I'm not having to start from scratch. Now, if you are interested to see how I even budget my money, I have so many videos on that. So I will leave some in the description below for you. But essentially what you want to be doing is when you plan out your money, so you're asking yourself how much you want to save, how much you want to put towards your debt, or how much do you want to invest. When you start planning that out, that will be very helpful for you, because then come payday, you will know exactly how much you're going to be spending, how much you're going to put towards your savings, and how much you may be paying towards some of your other essential bills. And this process does not need to take a long time, especially if you already know how much you typically spend. This honestly doesn't have to take very long. Typically, it takes me probably less than 10 minutes a month to do the budget, to think about how I'm going to distribute the money, and then that's it. And then throughout the week, I can have a look at my accounts to see how it's doing. And so if you feel like, oh, this is just going to take hours and hours, the reason why you think it's probably going to take that long is because you are not using your previous expenses to help guide you when it comes to actually planning out your future expenses. So once you do that first exercise, it will become much more easier the more you do it, and you will find that you're probably more likely to save more money. You're probably more likely to pay off your debt more quickly, simply because you have planned out your finances in advance before payday. Now, if you realize that when it comes to payday, you have no idea where your money is going, and you want to be much more organized with your finances so that you can finally have more savings to either pay off debt, save for that house deposit, or to even start investing for financial independence, but you want more support with that, you want to know where to start and how to do it, this is exactly what I cover in one-on-one coaching. So if you do want to find out more about working with me one-on-one, what you can do is just book a free call with me, so we'll discuss exactly what you're struggling with and how I can help you. So make sure you do check that out if you haven't already. I will leave a link up here for you and in the description below. But when it comes to payday, really planning out your finances in advance will make life so much easier, because you'll then no longer be worrying about where your money has gone. You would have already planned for it, and it doesn't have to be this overcomplicated process. If you're very clear on your goals, you know how much you want to save, how much you want to invest, then you've had a look at your previous expenses, that will help you to now start planning for your future expenses, so that when payday comes, you know exactly where your money is going, which means you'll then be able to save that money, but you'll also have the freedom to spend it too. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, do you plan out your finances in advance before payday? I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week.